Okay, so now we move to Module 5, Scales 9 and 10. First, let's have a review of Skill 7, which is noun clause connectors. Remember that a noun clause is a clause that functions as a noun. Because the noun clause functions as a noun, it is used in a sentence as an object of a verb or an object of a preposition. Let's take a look at the two examples. I don't know why she said such things. I am thinking about why she said such things. We know that those two sentences have two subjects each and two verbs each. The first example, the subject is I, the second subject is she, while the verbs are don't know and said. The connector is why, and it is the object of the verb know. The second example, the subjects are I and she. The verbs are am thinking and said, and the connector is why. Remember, two subjects, two verbs, one connector. Let's take a look at the summary. For the noun clause connectors, we have what, when, where, why, how, whether, if, and that. The pattern will be subject-verb connector, subject-verb. Remember always, two subjects, two verbs, one connector. Let's have a review of Skill 8, noun clause connectors, subjects. It is actually the same as Skill 7. The difference is only that here in Skill 8, the connector is also the subject of the clause. Let's take a look at the two examples. I know what happened yesterday. We are thinking about what happened yesterday. For the first example, the subjects are I and what. The verbs are know and happened, while the connector is what. And if we analyze, the connector what is also the subject for the noun clause. In the next example, the subjects are we and what. The verbs are thinking and happened, and the connector is what. Here, the connector what is also the subject for the noun clause. Two subjects, two verbs, one connector. Here for the summary noun clause connector subjects, we have who, what, and which. And the pattern will be subject, verb, connector, which is also the subject, and verb. I provide the link for you to have the review of the previous skill up there. You might want to take a look at. Now let's continue to skill 9, adjective clause connectors. An adjective clause describes a noun. Because the clause is an adjective, it is positioned directly after the noun that it describes. So the adjective clause is put after the noun that it describes. The basic rule is the same. 2 subjects, 2 verbs, 1 connector. Later, if you find that there are 3 subjects, there will be 3 verbs and 2 connectors. Let's take a look at the examples. This is the house that I want to buy. The subjects for the sentence is this, and the second subject is I. The verbs are is and want, while the connector is that. The clause that I want to buy is what we call the adjective clause. And if you see there, the adjective clause describes the house. So if we say this is the house, it might not be clear yet. But if we put that I want to buy, it is clearer. This is the house that I want to buy. The next example. The house that I want to buy is quite expensive. The subjects are the house and I. The verbs are want and is. The connector is that. Remember that adjective clause is put directly after the noun it describes. Because in the second example, the adjective clause that I want to buy is used to describe the house, so it is put directly after the house. The original sentence will be, the house is quite expensive. I want to buy it. It here refers to the house. So when they are combined into one sentence, it will be, the house that I want to buy is quite expensive. Let's take a look at the summary. The adjective clause connectors are whom for people, which for things, non-person, and that for people or things. There are 2 possible patterns. The first one is subject, verb, adjective clause connector, subject, verb, or subject, adjective clause connector, subject, verb, verb. Remember, 2 subjects, 2 verbs, 1 connector. Let's see the example. The job blah 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 started yesterday was rather difficult. Let's try to analyze. What do we have here? We already have 1 subject, which is the job, and 2 verbs, started and was. So what is missing? We need another subject and a connector. Option A only provides connector. Option B only provides verb. Option C provides connector, and the answer will be D. Option D provides connector and the subject. So the complete sentence will be, the job that he started yesterday was rather difficult. The subjects are the job and he. The verbs are started and was, and the connector is that. Let's continue to skill 10, adjective clause connector subjects. Basically, it's the same as skill 9. The difference is only that the adjective clause connector here is also the subject for the adjective clause. Let's take a look at the examples. We are looking at a house that is quite expensive. The subjects are we and that. The verbs are looking and is, while the connector is that. Remember, the connector here is also the subject for the adjective clause. The second example, the house that is quite expensive seems like a great house. The subjects are the house and that. The verbs are is and seems, while the connector is that. The connector here is also the subject for the adjective clause. As we can see here, 2 subjects, 2 verbs, 1 connector. Let's take a look at the summary. Adjective clause connector subjects. We have 3. Who for people, which for things, and that for people or things. The difference with skill 9, the previous skill, is that in skill 9, the connector for people is whom, while here in skill 10, the connector as well as the subject is who. There are 2 possible patterns: subject verb adjective clause connector subject verb, and subject adjective clause connector subject verb verb. 2 subjects, 2 verbs, 1 connector. Let's see the example. Blah 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 just dropped off a package for you is my sister. Let's analyze. What do we have here? We have 2 verbs. They are dropped and is. So what is missing? The sentence has already got 2 verbs. So we need 2 subjects and a connector. Option A only provides subject. Option D is a prepositional phrase. Option C provides connector and 1 subject, while option B, which is the answer, provides 2 subjects and a connector. The complete sentence will be, the woman who just dropped off a package for you is my sister. The subjects will be the woman and who. The verbs will be dropped and is. while the connector is who. So that brings me to the end of Module 5. Remember, the basic rule that you have to master is that for two clauses, you will need a connector. For three clauses, you will need two connectors. Each subject has its own verb, and each verb has its own subject. Okay, I hope you find this video is useful. Let me know by writing down the comments down below. I'll see you in the next videos. Bye bye.